Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Agree to Disagree. I'm your host, Jack Casello. With me, as always, is Dean Gutic, Aidan Shard, and Mr. Noah Schwartz. Gentlemen, how are we today?
Oh, absolutely fabulous.
Fantastic. That Jet game yesterday made me super happy.
Oh, yeah, we are just the best offense ever.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, looking like that.
Offensive genius Adam Gase.
Looking like that MVP quarterback.
Speaking of which, just a quick thing. Adam Gase is going to be hired next season, and he's going to be hired as a head coach for the Lions, because the only team that could make a stupider decision than the Jets is probably the Lions.
You want to hear something funny? There's actually something interesting about this. I saw this on Instagram.
Oh, I saw this too, Jack. Yeah, good point.
Apparently, Matt Patricia was going to hire Adam Gase as his offensive coordinator before Adam Gase took the Jet job. So
Yep.
Wow.
You know, actually, I'll be completely honest. I don't think Adam Gase would be as bad of an offensive coordinator as he would be as a head coach, because as a head coach, like
his only job is to call plays. That's all he's done, and he can't even do that right. And he can't can't tell the truth in the media about it.
A head coach also has, that leadership position. They also have a lot of say in the player and personnel. That's a big thing too. If you have a great head coach and a mediocre offensive coordinator, or even a bad offensive coordinator, you can still do well.
Yeah, I mean, guys, we all know it's not the play calling and it's not the coaching. Just look at the system that he ran with Peyton Manning. Like, that clearly tells us everything we need to know. Adam Gase is clearly a genius. But anyway, we'll save that for a couple of weeks once he's fired, and Noah and I are going to be on here with tequila shots celebrating. But anyway,
we should do it.
Oh, bro, I'm going to get hammered when that happens.
Champagne and beer bottles, baby.
We here at Agree to Disagree do not support underage drinking.
Yeah. Well, hey,
accept this.
Hey, by the time that comes, because let's be real, he's not actually going to get fired.
We're all going to be 20. We're all going to be 21 by the time the Jets finally fire Gase.
Exactly. So anyway, all right, moving on. We got a great show for you lined up today. We're going to talk a little bit college football playoff predictions. We're going to talk some NFL, and Dean is going to give an all-time team to continue going on. I believe you said you're doing the Islanders, if I'm correctly wrong.
Islanders.
Yes, okay. All right, I say we start with the NFL. Very strange week of NFL football. We got a couple Thanksgiving blowouts, awful, absolutely just awful games. We got some exciting games on Sunday. We have a Monday night game going on right now, and Noah's boy Carson Wentz continues to suck. And
don't talk to me ever.
Oh,
Carson Wentz sucks.
Thanks.
We had a game that was supposed to be tomorrow, as we are recording this on Monday, which is now going to be played on Wednesday at 3:40. What are your guys' thoughts on some of the things that have happened so far this week?
Man, this week has been crazy for COVID. Like, we thought it was crazy earlier in the season with the Titans, but my God, this has been quite the week. I won't get into the Broncos thing quite yet. But the fact that the Steelers have now gotten absolutely hosed twice.
Oh my God! Enough with the hosed.
Is ridiculous. They lost their bye week because another team didn't follow regulations. Now they are getting a game pushed to Wednesday night because another team can't follow regulations. When is the NFL going to just say, Ravens, either field a team of COVID-free players and personnel, or don't play and take a loss? One of those two things have to happen.
Hold on.
How long can you push back the game until you say Ravens have to forfeit?
Okay, this drives me nuts. Okay, absolutely nuts. I've been hearing all this talk about the Ravens and how they should have to forfeit and all that. And here's my opinion on this. And this, you guys may disagree, but this is how I feel. We are in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody across the country and across the globe is dealing with this in some way, whether you're sick or you're with people that have been with people that are sick or whatever. Like, everyone's dealing with this, right?
Yeah.
So at some point it's going to happen to football players because they're regular people too, and they're going to get sick. I don't think that the Steelers should be able to benefit from just an automatic win when we're in a global pandemic. At some point it was going to happen to the NFL. It just happened to affect the Steelers more than the next team, but that shouldn't afford them a luxury that other teams don't have. Like, I don't agree with that whatsoever.
What else do you do? What do you do with this game if another Ravens player tests positive and they have to push it back further from Wednesday? Are they going to put it on Thursday?
They should make a week 18 and play it that way. That's what I think.
But just have one game week 18. Every other team gets an extra bye week.
But Aiden,
that's not fair to every other team.
Pittsburgh's probably getting a bye anyway, so it actually helps them because they'll play a game and then have an additional bye as the 1 seed and then play in the divisional round. But the point is, the point is, I don't think that they should be afforded a luxury of an automatic win, and we shouldn't fault the Ravens when everyone across the country is getting sick. Like, I mean, how many cases are we at now? Millions in America? It's an insane number. So why are we blaming the Ravens for something that everyone else is dealing with?
Now, Noah, I agree and disagree with you. Disagree, and I want to point out a few things. If the Titans didn't forfeit against the Bills or Steelers, the Ravens aren't going to forfeit against the Steelers. And, you don't blame the Ravens. I agree. There's a global pandemic, but the NFL has handled this horribly. The Broncos have had Drew Lock, Blake Bortles, Jeff Driscoll. All these guys test positive. They have we're going to get into him later.
Forgot Jet Killer Brett Rippon, by the way.
Of course. And guess what? The NFL has their eyes closed. But when Lamar Jackson tests positive, they have their eyes open. Well, the NFL.
Exactly.
That's
the biggest issue I have with this entire thing. It's not necessarily – I do think – having the team forfeit wouldn't be the worst thing. Make an enforcement, send a message to all the teams in the league, follow policies, or these are the consequences. But it's the most ridiculous thing that the NFL they're doing. They're showing that teams and certain players are above other people. Why do the Broncos, none of their quarterbacks can play? Why does the game not get pushed back for them? Because nobody cares about their quarterback. But it's the Ravens, and they care about Lamar Jackson, so they get to extend time.
See, there are some differences, though. I don't like that argument because – I mean, you look at the Ravens, it's not just Lamar Jackson that caught COVID. He was the one that pushed him catching it, pushed the game back. But there were plenty of players before him that caused that game to get pushed back. There are other teams, the Patriots included, that have lost their starting quarterback right before a game. It happens.
Yeah, but
hold on.
Denver, they had 3 guys. It was
but here's
all of them got
the
tested
thing.
positive.
None of
them. Only the one quarterback.
One tested positive.
Yeah,
Driscoll tested positive. The other 3 deserved to be benched because what they did was the other 3 violated COVID protocol. They did not wear masks and they did not social distance with the other quarterbacks, which is why they were all deemed high risk and why they were all deemed ineligible to play on Sunday. Yes, the NFL probably should have moved the game back to Monday night at the very least, but there was 1 player on that roster with COVID, as opposed to the Ravens who have 18? So are you going to tell me that having 1 player test positive and 3 other players get ruled ineligible because they broke the rules is the same as 18 players getting tested positive? No, not at all. The Broncos should have to live with that mistake. And, it was bad. It was a terrible situation that they were put in, and we benefited from it. As a Saints fan, I benefited from it. I'll admit that. That was a game we could have lost had Drew Lock been starting. But it's ridiculous to say that the Broncos and the Ravens were in the same situation. They were not in the same situation at all.
And here's the other thing, too. You have to remember, when I think it was J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram were the first 2 Ravens that we knew that were positive. They were playing Thursday on Thanksgiving. So the NFL only had a couple days from the past Sunday up until Thanksgiving to know who was sick. That's not a lot of time. They're playing on a short week. They had to push the game back just because they were playing on such a short week and it was only a few days off. And then once they got back to Sunday, I guess they figured, okay, more and more guys are testing positive. Let's just push it back as far as we possibly can to ensure that we're not sending someone out there on the field that hasn't shown any symptoms or hasn't been able to test positive yet. We're just going to play it safe. With the Broncos, they knew it was only 1 guy, and they played Sunday, so they had more time during the week, I guess, to figure out who was sick and who wasn't, and to isolate Driscoll, even though it obviously didn't work out that way. But nobody else did get sick.
And it was unfortunate that Locke, Rippon, and Bortles all couldn't play. That was an unlucky break for the Broncos. But at the end of the day, it is their fault that they were ineligible to play because they weren't positive. They just weren't following the rules.
You didn't listen. I understand your point, and I do agree with you. But I hate how the Ravens, whoever said the Steelers got hosed, I agree. The Ravens got an extended break. You got teams like, over the time, the Raiders, their whole offensive line had a quarantine, and they were uncertain if the Raiders' offensive line was going to play or if the Raiders were going to play against the Buccaneers. The Bills played the Titans on short notice, who broke rules but didn't get punished for anything, absolutely nothing, even though they were clearly seen working out on another team's field. It's what pisses me off is the way that the NFL's handled this and they've gone about it. And I've mentioned it to Jack before too, and even now, it's yes, the Broncos they did violate some protocols, and I do agree they do have to pay for it. But but it would issue with the problem with me is once Lamar gets COVID, we got to move the game. It just the way that they expose, like I think Jack said it best, like how players are above each other is what pisses me off.
I just think that it just happened to be Lamar.
Yeah, I agree.
It just so happened to be that he was the one that caught it. That at that point you have 7 players test positive. Well, now we got to push it back.
Right. No, I'm with Aidan.
It could have been the
I think
third
it was
string
random.
quarterback.
There's arguments to both sides. It's never going to be a definitive answer to that.
All right. Can we talk quickly too about we started to mention the Denver situation with Kendall Hinton yesterday, but I gotta say, guys, and I know the numbers don't back this up, but what a performance yesterday by Kendall Hinton. I know it was only one completed pass. I know he threw 2 picks, but to be put in that situation and to even be out there, I mean, 99.9% of people would have never been able to do what he did over an entire NFL game yesterday. I was extremely impressed.
I mean,
it's funny you say that. He should honestly start for the Jets. We put up the same amount of points.
Literally.
We have the number 3 overall pick in the NFL's draft, but a practice squad quarterback practice squad wide receiver, was putting up the same amount of points as the Jets. So clearly we don't need Sam Darnold. So
for people who don't know, who weren't following his story, Kendall Hinton played quarterback in high school, was recruited to Wake Forest as a quarterback, and a couple games into his freshman year, transitioned to wide receiver, played his entire college career as wide receiver, went undrafted, got signed by the Broncos as wide receiver, played on the practice squad, and then was told Saturday night, 12 hours before kickoff, hey,
crazy,
you're starting at quarterback tomorrow. Not a single snap, not a single even look at the offense. There were people in the Broncos organization who didn't even know he existed on Sunday morning.
Yeah, two things for me about this, and I'll pass it on to you guys. Number one, I really hope that this whole incident with Kendall Hinton doesn't affect his career going forward. I really hope that other front offices and other teams, and maybe even the Broncos, will look at him and go, you know what? He went out there, he put up a gutsy performance and still completed a pass and was put in this tough situation. Let's maybe try and give him a shot. Let's see what he can do as a real receiver on the active roster of Denver or another team. That's number one. Number two, I got to give props to Hinton for this. A lot of guys would say, I don't want to do this because they're risking. I mean, he's risking his career injury-wise to be out there. You got to remember how much quarterbacks learn when they get to the league about injury management and about avoiding hits and about sliding when they're running and about making sure that they know how to sense when, a rusher's coming at them from their blind side and they don't necessarily see that guy. I mean, there's a lot to learn about avoiding those hits and to make sure you stay healthy. He didn't get any of that training and wasn't prepared. He could have very easily been in a bad situation and got absolutely crushed, and his whole season or his whole career is in jeopardy. Thank God he stayed healthy, but I got to say, he risked a lot going out there in a really bad spot for him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, correct me if I'm mistaken, he did play quarterback at Wake Forest before.
Yeah, briefly, and then transitioned to wide receiver.
Yeah. And it was really risky. I was afraid for him before the game because I thought to myself, with no experience, how is this guy going to perform? I thought maybe the Broncos were going to give Rolls-Royce Freeman the quarterback spot, or
he took a couple snaps.
I was hoping for Von Miller was going to come out of nowhere. Did you guys see him last year at the Pro Bowl Skills Challenge? He was knocking those targets down.
I thought the Broncos were going to do something like I think the Jets did this years ago, and they had a punter at quarterback at one point.
Tupa, he can play quarterback now.
I thought the Broncos were going to do something like that, but to see Hinton compete and complete his first pass on short notice was, you got to respect him, got to give him credit when credit's due.
Yeah, definitely. And it was interesting yesterday, at least according to Noah, yesterday both teams were playing without a quarterback because I don't think.
True.
Okay, whatever.
This is true. Taysom Hill was awful yesterday. Don't even say he wasn't.
Okay, I will debate this when Jack is done.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I was going to get into that. So I want Aidan to
Well,
Aidan, go.
First of all, I do just want to say just one last thing about Hinton. Call it running out of time and not having time to plan. But I truly think the reason this score was the way it was because the Broncos did not call this game well at all offensively. You are having a guy who has never thrown a pass in the NFL, who hasn't tried to play quarterback since 2015. You're having him throw the ball 10 yards plus downfield. Of course he's going to throw incompletions and interceptions. Of course that's going to happen. Give him screens. Give him easy dump off passes where your receivers and your tight ends block and make plays. That was his only completion. It went for a first down. Why they never went back to it, I couldn't tell you. But back to Taysom Hill. Both him and Peyton, after the game, said that when they heard that Hinton was starting at quarterback, or that the Broncos weren't going to have a real quarterback, they completely switched their game plan. They wanted to control the pace of the game. They did not want to make any costly mistakes. They didn't want to give the Broncos too much time to make any sort of plays. They wanted to control the game, and the way you do that is on the ground. You have two incredible running backs. You have Taysom Hill, who can run the ball whenever he wants, and Taysom Hill did pretty fantastic on the ground. He had 44 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's not a bad performance. Sure, he threw a pick, and he only threw 78 yards, but he also only completed 9 passes. Again, not that terrible. Was it as good as his performance last week? No, but he got the job done.
I feel like the Broncos, especially with Hinton, should have used the run game more. Maybe do something like Army and Navy in college, just completely run with the quarterback and just run with everything.
Yeah, definitely interesting. The one thing that's been very surprising from the Saints and their offense the last couple of weeks, the lack of production with Taysom Hill that Alvin Kamara has had in the last couple of weeks. Last week he was held without a catch. This week only 1 catch for -2 yards, and he really didn't dominate the ground game. Only 54 yards rushing. Latavius Murray really dominated that aspect of the game. It's going to be interesting to see how different the offensive approach is when Drew Brees comes back. But like I kept saying, the defense for the Saints looks pretty good. They've been looking very solid the last 3 weeks, not like last 4. So the Saints got a lot to look forward to. If Drew Brees can come back soon and get healthy, maybe he. It's it just reminds me a lot of Peyton Manning in his last season. He came back from injury. Can he lead his team? Can Brees lead his team to one last time?
One last ride that his team completely carries him for.
I love that you just compared Taysom Hill to Brock Osweiler. That was very funny.
Taysom Hill is miles ahead of Brock Osweiler.
But then you know what happens after the chapter. I hope Brees wins the Super Bowl.
We just go woohoo.
You're going to trade a couple 2nd-round picks to the Jets for Sam Darnold. But
all I'm saying, I would not be surprised if when Brees retires, Michael Thomas is no longer a Saint.
I'll trade for him.
Could be, yeah. We'll handle that.
I'll take him. All right. Anyway, let's move on to another game. I know Noah wants to talk about this game. The Chiefs and the Bucks. Mahomes versus Brady. The past versus the present. Noah, I'll let you start. What were your thoughts on the game? And also, before we get into this, before all of you were mocking me when I said that Tyreek Hill wasn't the best, I put him over Michael Thomas. So far this year, that prediction ain't looking too bad. Michael Thomas was out for 9 weeks, and yesterday Tyreek Hill in the first quarter alone had 7 catches for 203 yards and a touchdown.
You went
Good
all.
point, Jack. That's true.
So,
Here's my takeaway from yesterday. First of all, everybody knows this now. The Chiefs are miles better than the Buccaneers. The whole Buccaneers to the Super Bowl nonsense that we heard a whole preseason. Can we stop it? It's just ridiculous. I mean,
at one point it was looking like they could have very well been there. A couple weeks ago they were 6-2, and they were looking like one of the best teams.
Well, yeah, and then all of a sudden they played the Giants, almost lost that game, and everything turned around.
Yeah.
Here's the biggest thing for me, though. I actually thought Kansas City could have won this game by 25 points. I mean, they put up, 550 yards or so of offense, and they only scored 27 points. I mean, Mahomes never scores 27 points. They're always into the mid-30s, upper 30s, maybe even into the 40s. And yesterday, the red zone offense was not great. They settled for field goals at times. And so, you look at this game, and it was only a 3-point final result, but it could have been closer to 15 or 20 points if Kansas City took care of business in certain aspects of the game. Did the Bucs have a nice comeback at the end of it? Yeah, they did. And did Brady play necessarily bad? Not really. But the match between Arians and Brady, to me, seems to be getting worse and worse every week. I feel like those two are just not really on the same page. Mike Evans has just really not shown me much all season. Neither has Chris Godwin. Antonio Brown is a total wild card. Who knows what you're going to get? And it seems like more and more they're just relying on Gronkowski to be like their number one target. I mean, he had the 130-something yards yesterday. So I'm just I'm just disappointed with how the Bucs have been playing. I mean, I'm happy about it. I don't like the team, but all the Super Bowl talk, we need to stop it, because in that division, it's the Saints and then there's everybody else. And in the conference, you got the upper tier teams. You got the Saints, Rams, maybe Seattle's in there, Green Bay, and the Buccaneers they're just not even in the same class.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. And you mentioned, of course, the Chiefs and the Bucs. The Chiefs are still proving that they're the best team in the AFC, and it's not close. You can still argue the Steelers could give them a run, but the Chiefs are here to stay for a while. But the Buccaneers just are falling away from the NFC South. This is definitely going to be the Saints division. At least the Buccaneers, the one benefit is you'll most likely play somebody from the NFC East in the first round.
I know, honestly, the Bucs could just get an easy ride through the first round of the playoffs, just because it's pretty likely that either the Bucs, the Seahawks, the Rams, or the Cardinals, one of those 4 teams is going to be the 5 seed, and they're going to get to play. They're basically going to get a free win.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, very much. I think right now, the Saints, more so than anybody, are the clear favorites in the NFC. I think they're miles above everybody else right now. I think the best team, if I had to pick one team to go against them, I'd probably say I'd like the Rams. I think in terms of both sides of the ball, I think they're the most balanced. So that'd be interesting. Get a nice little revenge, nice storyline. I'd like to see that NFC Championship rematch. That'd be cool. And like what Dean said, I think the AFC the Chiefs are probably the favorites, but I definitely think the Steelers can give them a run for their money. They have their defense is good enough. Their pass rush is ferocious, and that secondary has a lot of talent, and they can run the football. They can control the clock. Mike Tomlin's a smart coach, and even the last, I think Mahomes has only played the Steelers one time, if I'm correct. He had to throw 6 touchdowns to beat them, so, and they barely won. So it could very well be. It could be a nice battle. So that's what I'll say about that. But before we move on, so those 4 teams I think are above everybody else, and let's move on. All right, so we'll move on to some college football talk as the college football season continues to move along, and it'll soon be time for the college football playoff. We're going to give some predictions on who we think is going to get in and who will not. I'm going to start with Dean, because he's the biggest fan. He's the biggest college football fan, I think, out of all of us. So, sorry, Noah. Dean, I'll let you start.
I don't know about that.
You're the college basketball guy. I'm the college football.
Come on, I gotta get
Okay, fine. I concede.
Thank you, sir.
I'm like the president.
Ooh,
Damn.
Hey, we do not get political on this show.
we get political all the time.
No, we do not. I just said that to be funny.
I like how this segment started. Thank you very much. You always got to have some fire on this show. Number 1 is Alabama. It has to be Alabama. It's not even close. Number 2, I'm going to go with Clemson. I think Clemson runs the table. I think Clemson wins out and beats Notre Dame in the ACC championship game. Number 3 and number 4 are tricky, because here's the thing. Ohio State might get their game canceled next week. And if Ohio State's game is canceled, they are ineligible to play in the Big Ten championship, and their playoff hopes decrease. So Ohio State's on the fence right now. I'm going to say Ohio State's 3rd and Notre Dame's 4th. This is really tough. You can't, especially with COVID, you can't predict anything. Anything can happen with Ohio State's next game. If Ohio State doesn't make it, I could see a team like Texas A&M swooping in.
Yeah, I was gonna mention sort of related to what Dean said. If Ohio State's game is canceled, and we'll see if it is, Dean. To me, though, if they still don't win the Big Ten, like, how can you put another team over them? Because Florida is going to be in the SEC title game, and they're going to lose to Alabama. Let's just be pretty honest about it. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you have Texas A&M, and they're not even going to be in the SEC title game because they're not going to get there. So how can you put them in? I almost feel like Ohio State kind of by default would have to be there, just because there's nobody else you can put in. Nobody from the Big 12 is going to get there because everybody has 2 losses. And nobody from the Pac-12 is going to get there because none of those teams are even in the top 10. So all of a sudden you're looking at a team like Cincinnati, but they're not going to get there. They're not a Power 5 school. So honestly, to me, Ohio State's kind of locked it up. The only way they don't make it is if they get to the Big Ten title game and they lose it. Otherwise, they're going to have 0 or 1 losses or 0-1 loss, and they're going to get there. I don't see how else you
Yeah.
can judge it. It'll be weird this year, but to me, that they still deserve a shot.
It's going to be
Apparently,
weird.
it's
And
all-
I was looking at things the same way as you, Noah. I mean, obviously, Bama and Notre Dame are going to make it, regardless of what happens in the ACC title game for Notre Dame.
Yeah, if they lose, they'll be in.
Win or lose, they'll be in. And then Clemson, I think Clemson needs to win to be locked in.
Clemson needs the ACC title. They're not
Suppose Clemson loses and Ohio State doesn't play in the Big Ten championship. Clemson stays in. But if Ohio State does, then I could see a world where, possibly Texas A&M comes up and bounces Clemson out. If they win out, if they win big, they have who are they playing? They're playing Auburn next, which is a big game. And, we know they're not going to make the SEC title game, but Clemson ends the season with 2 losses. It could be possible.
But here's the thing, though. We've never seen a team in the playoff, Aiden, that hasn't even made it to to their conference championship game. I know Georgia, when they lost their conference title game in that famous Jalen Hurts return to the game, and we remember that game. But but the point is, Georgia was at least in the conference title game that year. Who knows? I mean, Texas A&M is not even going to be there, so how could you justify them being in? It's all so convoluted this year. That's the point I want to make.
This year's really strange. You can't so many games have been canceled. They've been postponed. Situations they haven't even played. Some of them haven't even played a normal schedule. Look at Ohio State.
Yeah,
they're not
four games at this point. 2 already canceled. Another one possibly getting canceled. And if one more gets canceled, they don't play in the Big Ten championship.
Apparently,
sorry, Dean. Before you go, I just want one question. Do you guys, whoever wins it this year, would you put an asterisk on it?
Not if Alabama wins it.
I would say if
They're the
Bama,
best team from start to
Clemson,
finish.
or Ohio State win it, no. If anyone else does, probably
Yeah, I'll throw Notre Dame in there too.
Ohio State or Clemson win, then no.
I'll be fair. I'm fine with that.
Everyone was going to say, if the Dodgers or Yankees win the World Series, we're not putting an asterisk on it. If anybody else does, we are.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Alrighty. So now we talked about. So now I want everyone's prediction: who makes it to the national championship and who wins it?
As much as I hate to say this, I think it is going to be Bama over Notre Dame. I think, I'm just going to make the assumption that the top 4 hold. So it's going to be Bama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Clemson in that order. Ohio State has
that can't be the order. That can't be the order.
Why not?
Because Clemson has to win and beat Notre Dame. They would jump Notre Dame to be in that order.
You're right. All right. Well, then I'm going to have to do some thinking. Someone else go.
I could go.
Go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, before we continue, I'm sorry, I don't want to change subject. If Ohio State doesn't play, it could be a Northwestern Indiana conference title game, which would be a nightmare scenario for the conference.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to, Dean, isn't Northwestern's, because I saw this today, isn't Northwestern's game canceled this weekend?
I think against Minnesota, yes.
Yeah. So don't they have to win next week to make it? Don't they have to win their next game?
I believe so. But if they lose and Wisconsin wins, then Wisconsin takes their spot. Wisconsin lost the tiebreaker to Northwestern.
But I thought automatically they can't make it because they didn't play enough games. Isn't that how that works too?
Yeah, never mind.
It's all so convoluted. I know there's so many different scenarios.
The Big Ten is a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess.
This is a wild year.
And I kind of wish that a team from the Big 12. I kind of wish that a team from the Big 12 had a real shot. But everybody has 2 losses, so Oklahoma can't be there. No, absolutely not. I can't put a 2-loss Oklahoma team in. They lost 2 games early.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is why we need an 8-team football playoff.
Yeah, I think it's time they finally do that. And I think it's so unfair. It's not fair to all the some of the teams.
It's tougher to Cincinnati. Let's talk. Cincinnati is having a storybook season. It's going amazing for them. And they're not even going to have a chance. If Ohio State loses out, Clemson loses out, Texas A&M and Florida both lose out, there's still not a chance that Cincinnati makes it because they're not a Power 5. It was the same thing with UCF a couple of years ago.
Aidan, you know who else has a chance?
Don't say BYU.
BYU and the GOAT Zach Wilson.
You know who else went to BYU? You know who else went to BYU?
The national championship better be won, and I don't need them. I don't want them to win. I need them to win. is Clemson. Clemson has to win because, and I don't care. Well, I'm not a huge college football fan. I'm rooting for Clemson for one reason. I don't want there to be, I'm thinking about my team, my New York Jets. And God forbid, I don't want there to be any reason Trevor Lawrence is going to be, they lose. Oh, guys, I let you down. I got to come back to finish the job. None of that is happening. So win your national championship, hold the trophy high, and then come so we can ruin your career. Okay? All right.
Sounds good.
I'll take Bama over everybody. I just think they're the best team, but Clemson could easily win it. I think Notre Dame is a step below the other two, and we don't really know about Ohio State.
No,
yet.
but on a serious note, before Trevor Lawrence did go down with COVID, I don't think they would have lost to Notre Dame if he was healthy. I think they were by miles. They were easily the number one team in the nation before they lost that game because he was out and because of all
They were the undoubted number ones until BC.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. All right.
I'm going to go with Alabama and Clemson in the Natty.
Round 3.
And I know I'm going to be very biased for this. I think Alabama's due. Alabama never misses a beat, but I think this might be the game where they play a team where they miss a beat. And Dabo kind of has Nick Saban's number, so I'm going to go with Clemson over Alabama. And before the Jet fans get excited, I want to see Trevor Lawrence, while I wear my Clemson hoodie, raise one more trophy with the best team in college football.
I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him.
Thank you.
I want to see him do great, of course. I just don't think they're the best team.
I want him to win it
Fair
and
enough.
get out. Want him to win it and get out. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Fine with me.
We should move on.
Yeah, all right. We're gonna move on here. We've been going through our all-time teams. This week, Dean is up, and we've done one baseball. We've done two baseball. We've done one basketball. Then we're gonna change it up. We're gonna do some hockey. Dean is gonna give his all-time New York, the second best team in New York in terms of hockey, the New York Islanders. So, Dean, let you go. Here you go, boy.
The best team in New York. Agree to disagree.
one.
Favorite New York hockey team minus the Boston Bruins. I know you represent the Bruins.
Y'all see that behind me?
I will pick the Rangers, the Islanders over the Rangers any day.
Thank you.
Right.
But
Rangers are building something special.
Okay, relax. All right, go ahead, Dean.
All right. So there we go. Hayden, I can't see the
Through.
My left winger for all-time Islanders is going to be Clark Gillies, who has 663 points in 786 games. Not only was he an underrated scorer, he was the enforcer of the team. He was the big bad bully of the New York Islanders. He is a Hall of Famer, a 4-time Stanley Cup winner, and he's a 2-time All-Star. My center, 1,353 points in 1,123 games. This man is a very talented player who leads a team in almost every category all-time offensively. He's created a lot of goals for the Islanders with 901 total assists and has had 5 straight 100-plus point seasons during their run at the Stanley Cup. He also has a staggering 449 plus minus. He's a Hall of Famer, a 6-time Stanley Cup champion, a 4-time All-Star, a former Rookie of the Year, a Hart Trophy winner, and a Conn Smythe winner. My right winger is the greatest Islander of all time. Some will disagree with this, or should I say they'll agree to disagree. Mike Bossy, infamous for his 50 goals in 50 games. Brian Trottier has had more points than Dennis Potvin, but he got a cut career. He played a shorter time span compared to the others. My games he's played 752 games. I'm convinced that if he played for a longer time, I think he would lead the team in every category, and he'd be the greatest Islander of all time. My first defenseman is Dennis Potvin, who has 1,052 points in 1,060 games. Although I do say Bossy is the greatest Islander, I think you can make the argument for Potvin. Potvin is one of the greatest defensemen in Islander history and in the NHL. And what not only makes him a better defenseman is that he's solid on the defensive side. On the offensive side, he's produced a lot for the New York Islanders throughout their time. The next one's a little controversial ones for some hockey fans. Ken Murrow, 105 points in 550 games. Now, he may not have the eye-opening numbers like an offensive player. However, defensively, he was rock solid, and his achievement of winning the Olympics and Stanley Cup in the same year is a huge reason why he's on here. My goalie is, and of course, my goalie is Billy Smith, one of the greatest Islander goalie of all time. 305 wins, 3.18 GAA, nearly a 900 save percentage, a Hall of Famer, 4-time Stanley Cup champion, and a former Jennings Award winner.
Lundqvist can take him.
No John Tavares, Dean?
We don't mention that name right here.
Okay.
He's nowhere near the greatest of all time. And of course, the coach is Al Arbor.
Yeah.
1,500 games coached, which is an amazing record with 740 wins. Not only is the greatest Islander coach, but he is one of the greatest coaches to ever coach the sport of hockey. He's built a team with Hall of Fame GM Bill Torrey. He's won 4 straight Stanley Cups. They've made it to 5 straight finals. And to coach 1,500 games is an insane milestone. And he's a former coach.
That's pretty crazy. 1,500 what? 82 games a season?
82 games a season, and he's coached 1,500 games.
That's a lot of games.
That's a
and
lot
of
games.
Seasons.
That's a lot of games.
That is my all-time Islanders lineup.
I know literally nothing about the Islanders.
Same.
So I have nothing to say about whether or not that's good or bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
We did baseball, we did basketball. I wanted some diversity, you know.
No, I get it. I don't
sounds
blame
pretty
you.
good.
I
I'm
just
sure,
know
I'm
nothing.
sure the Rangers would blow them out of the water, like they do
I'm
everybody.
sure the Bruins would blow both of them out of the water.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
sure the
probably,
Rangers
you're probably
would
right.
lose in the first
Probably
round
right.
to the Carolina Hurricanes again.
Noah, what are your
Like
thoughts
not
on
being from
Noah?
the city
Noah,
champion.
could the Devils blow them out because he traded you?
I don't think so. I do not think so.
He traded you.
Okay, whatever.
All right. All right. So that's Dean's all-time team. I'm sure I'll probably go next week. I got to come up with something. Do we have anything else anybody wants to cover before we go to winners and losers?
Since I'm a nice guy, Noah, go ahead and give your thoughts for the Islanders all-time list.
No, I thought it was good. I definitely thought it was pretty good. I was thinking about John Tavares, but I understand why after what happened at the end to leave him off there. But okay, all good with me.
Fair enough.
All right, let's get into some winners and losers. So I believe Aidan and I are winners this week. Aidan, do you want to start or would you like me to go?
Oh, I would love to start. Okay.
Go for it.
As you've probably seen over the last 45 minutes from my lovely background, my winner is Mr. Jarrett Patterson,
Unbelievable.
running back
Insane.
at a University of Buffalo. He was a junior, I believe, and had possibly the most impressive rushing performance in college football history. I say possibly because, well, all right. He put up 409 yards and 8 touchdowns in a game. What's even more impressive is the fact that the week before he put up 301 yards and 4 touchdowns.
What a joke.
And
I can do better.
So here's a little fun fact. Obviously, that 409 yards is a record for that conference. I believe it's the Mid-East Atlantic Conference.
Yeah, the MAC, yeah.
Or the
Maction.
Mid-Atlantic Conference.
Maction.
Yeah. So that 409 yards, he broke the previous record of 301 yards, which he set the week before, which had broken a record of 298 yards that he set a couple seasons ago. So he might be the best running back in MAC history. 409 yards, unfortunately, not good enough for the all-time record. He was 18 yards short. The fact that the coach didn't let him get those 18 yards is ridiculous. And the 8 touchdowns is tied for a record with I can't remember his name, but he's a fullback from Georgia back in the 90s or the 80s.
Okay.
Fullback.
I remember when they set the record a few years ago when Melvin Gordon did it for Wisconsin, and then like two or 3 weeks later, Samaje Perine set it for Oklahoma, and he was the one who still has the record in terms of rushing yards now.
So
Out his career.
there are four players to ever rush over 400 yards in a game. He is now the 4th. Incredible performance. Understandably, Buffalo won that game by a lot. It was 70-41. And it makes it, I think it made it, I don't know if it put Buffalo in the top 25, but it definitely makes a case for them to make it pretty soon.
Yeah, no, absolutely crazy. But what do they say? What's the guy saying on Practical Jokers of the Challenge? I can do it better. I can do that better, guys. All right. The two men who have losers. Who would like to go first?
Dean, go ahead, my guy.
All
I think we
right,
might have the same loser, unfortunately.
my loser is none other than Nate Robinson.
Oh, never mind. We don't have the same loser.
First of all, that was just atrocious. If you're any NBA fan or player to watch, Jake Paul,
Knock him out.
He collapsed. It was so funny.
The hook connected, and that was it. I mean, listen, I enjoyed the whole pay-per-view. I'm sure we all enjoyed the whole pay-per-view, but boy, that was ugly for Nate Robinson. Paul Pierce's reaction said it best before and after the fight. That was really ugly for Nate Robinson. And just even watching him the whole fight, he was trying to hug him the whole time. Nate Robinson's inexperience as a boxer showed, but that was just really brutal to watch.
You know what bothered me the most about it? And I already told this to Dean. Why do you got to go out there in New York Knicks colors and lose? Can you do it to you played for the Boston Celtics? Can you embarrass them? Like come on, bro. That's what bothered me. But and also but that's what I gotta say about that.
The part that I think hurt the most to me is that Nate Robinson got absolutely destroyed by Jake Paul in the ring, and then immediately after got absolutely destroyed by Steph Curry on Twitter.
He has a new
I don't know if you guys saw it, but Robinson tweeted before the match, "Gonna shock the world, bro." And right after he got knocked down, Steph Curry replied, "I see no lies."
Savage.
It was
All right,
bad.
so speaking of hugs, because Dean was talking about Nate Robinson's hugs, for some reason I think Roy Jones must have had a crush on Mike Tyson the other day.
Oh yeah,
because he's my loser. Because Roy Jones would not stop hugging Mike Tyson, and let me tell you, I thought it was cool to watch those two legends go at it for 8 rounds, but that was an absolute embarrassment on the part of Roy Jones. He would try and hug him at every time they would meet up, and a couple punches were thrown, and they would just hug, and then they would try it again, and another hug, and it went on for 8 rounds. And let's just be honest, Mike Tyson beat the living hell out of Roy Jones with all those body shots that he threw at him. He didn't really hit him in the head very often. I guess he didn't really want to hurt him. But Tyson beat him up, and they decided to call it a draw, which is just an absolute joke. So as much as I wanted to see Tyson do well, and he definitely won, they officially called it a draw, and it really put a damper on the whole night.
Yeah, Mike Tyson is just a giant among. He's a man among men.
For someone who's 54. Yeah. For someone who's 54,
he's a man amongst men.
Yeah, well, Roy is also a man, but Mike Tyson is above him. Like he's a man. He's a man amongst little
men.
Monsters among men.
He's a man above a slightly smaller man.
Exactly.
And Roy Jones too, guys. He looked in like he was in awful shape. I mean, his conditioning was terrible. Mike Tyson looked like he was going to really try and fight him. Roy Jones was just in it just to hug and just to hang out in the ring for a while.
Yeah. Hang out, get a couple.
Roy Jones was doing it for the paycheck. Mike Tyson.
Exactly.
Mike Tyson looked like he could have gone on longer than just 8 rounds. He was ready to go.
Mike Tyson needs more money to throw away because he's.
And we need Snoop Dogg at the broadcast table.
Snoop Dogg is
fantastic.
Snoop Dogg high as a kite, freaking celebrating. All right. Anyway, let's wrap this up. My winner, and I say this partially because just to annoy Dean. My winner is Trevor Lawrence. After he's been out he hasn't played a game in like 5 weeks. He came back finally in what was kind of a senior night. He went out there and just absolutely dominated, throwing 400 yards. If they wanted, they probably could have made it like 70 to enough. They probably could have put up 90 if they wanted. And it was a nice farewell tour, nice little goodbye. So
he'll be back.
Nah.
He doesn't want to go to the Jets.
I didn't say he wants to go there, but he's gonna go there. But it was good. It was a nice moment. So let him have one last moment where he's considered the best, and everybody loves him before the Jets get their hands on him.
And New York radio is gonna have fun with that in a couple of years, Jack.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, it's a shame Joe Beningo's not here anymore.
Yeah, tell me about it.
All right, well, that's all we got for tonight on Agree to Disagree. I hope everybody had a nice, safe, and happy Thanksgiving. I'm your host, Jack Casella. With me, as always, Aidan Shar, Dean Gutik, and Noah Schwartz. I hope everybody has a good night. See you next time.